1 year. 1 year ago today is when I decided to take this journey with the Main Allure podcast. And dare I say, how exciting it is to reach the 1 year mark. So I want to take this opportunity to celebrate. So I want to make this a celebratory episode in which we can kind of just look back at the time that, the entire year where we've been going through all the ups and downs, changes, everything else throughout the podcast. And I am absolutely thrilled to be here. So this is episode 24. Welcome to the Main Allure podcast. I am your host, Laura. And with that, we're going to focus on what it means to go through this year of exploration with the podcast. And to be honest, it feels surreal to say it out loud because it all started as a simple idea with a voice and a mic. And it's been a year of showing up and pressing record, even on days when I didn't necessarily feel ready, or maybe I was sick, I had a headache. There was all these days where sometimes things didn't pan out exactly as I wanted them to, but we made it. And yes, I am including you in this big milestone because without you, let's be honest, I would not be here today. So with that, I would like to share the things that I've learned throughout the year as I've been releasing these episodes. And, I'm sure you could probably wondering, how do I feel? What are the things that made me inspired or at least maybe want to keep going? Because as you probably already know, most podcasts seem to die out by episode 10, believe it or not. So most of them don't make it past episode 10. And I made a promise to myself to keep going. And this is one of the things that I wanted to kind of share why I've been so consistent in trying to stay consistent, at least, and making sure that I'm showing up for you every single week or every week, every other week, as much as I can. So here are the 5 things that I made sure that I focused on, or that at least kept me going in order to keep myself consistent. The first thing is believing in myself. Back when I was in high school, again, I've said this many times, how I was extremely shy. I could barely put 2 sentences together. But something happened in high school that I was like, maybe I need to change the way that I approach things because it's not going to, my life is going to suck if I keep doing this over and over. So back in high school, I was working at a movie theater. And in this movie theater, this was in New York City. I worked in Chelsea. And I remember a lot of people used to go there. It was super busy. And sometimes celebrities would come in. It was exciting, right? Like as a high schooler, it was like fun thing to do and, make some money at the same time. So one time this guy came in and was like, hey, I think you would be absolutely great for soap operas. Now, mind you, I've never watched American soap operas. I'm more used to the Spanish ones. As a Latina, I've watched Luz Clarita, there's so many other ones that you watch, Guadalupe, whatever. And so he came up to me, he's like, you have the face of, someone who could work in soap operas. And I think he mentioned The Young and the Restless. I don't remember. It was one of those. But what I did know is that they last for, I don't know how long. It's been around like 50 years and I believe they're still going. He's like, yes, my friend is a producer. I would love to introduce you to him. He's like, matter of fact, I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to introduce you to him so that you could get the ball rolling. I'm sure you could talk to him. Oh my God. Guess what I did? Guess what I did? I quit my job. I quit my job. I waited 2 days and I'm sweating and I knew the day was coming because it was a Saturday. So he was going to come back the next Saturday. And I was so nervous and everything. I was like, okay, I think it's my time to go. I need to get out of here. So I ran, ran out of there. And I've always thought about that because I'm like, why did you do that? You didn't even have a job. It's not like he was giving you a contract to sign. It was more like just the idea of the thought of just me talking to this person. I was just so nervous. And to put it into context, I was the type of person that I would write a script. Literally, when I used to call somebody on the phone, I would have outlines and notes about what I was going to say because I would probably go blank and not say the things that I needed to say. And so that's how bad my anxiety was. So after that, I was like, okay, I cannot live like this. Okay. My life is going to be miserable if I cannot even put my words out. And so I started to just take risks, right? So that was my thing. And anything that came up to me, and like any opportunity, and maybe I've gone overboard at this point, but anything that came to my attention, yes, it was an absolute yes. I vowed to myself to always say yes. So the whole idea of doing this podcast, I was like, you know what? Why not? What's the worst that could happen? So I took it on, and here we are a year later. So I'm actually, I'm surprised that it lasted this long, but I've definitely learned a great deal from that. And yeah, so the second thing is knowing to keep myself slow and steady. And I say this because in the beginning, even when I was recording the first episode, I was comparing myself already to these big episode shows like Call Me Daddy and things like that, where they've been doing this for years, right? And so, of course, here I am comparing myself to people who have done an absolute great job. And I'm sure that when they first started, they were also nervous and unsure of how they were going to do things. And they had some trials and tribulations and trial and errors. And what I learned is to never compare myself. Just learn to accept that not everything is going to be perfect. You've probably noticed some episodes were great, some episodes were not so great. But at the same time, you probably rolled with the punches with me, which I appreciate. So yeah, the idea is to learn how to pace myself. And that's the reason why I also decided to do seasons instead of just endless episodes, because I also needed my own break. I also needed my time to reflect and plan for the next season. And that has helped me not only focus, but also understand that you have to take things one step at a time. And before you know it, you reach your 1 year mark and you celebrate. The next thing is learning something new, which is one of the reasons why I also decided to start the Main Allure. And I have definitely learned a lot about myself. To be honest, you think that this absolute expert, I will never call myself this grandiose expert that knows everything, but at the same time, I've tried to always remain humble enough to know that I don't have all the answers. And as long as I go out there and find information and share it with you, I think is a good step, right? I'm learning just as much as you are. And the idea is to engage in this continuous learning process, learning not only about myself, but also to share that knowledge with you. And for example, one of the episodes that I learned probably the most about myself, it was the people pleasing episode, where I was like, wait a minute, I really need to dial it back when it comes to people pleasing. And it definitely made me realize that I was saying yes to too many things. So yes, I do say yes to a lot of stuff now because, again, I didn't want to miss out on opportunities. But at the same time, I needed to also take care of myself and figure out what it is that I want. What is it that Laura wants? And so as a result, I had to learn to say no, to understand that not everything needs to be done right away. Not everything needs to be taken care of at other people's, convenience. So that's one thing that I definitely learned. And hopefully you learn something, right? If you're still listening, I'm hoping that you're learning. And I continue to do so, bringing you episodes that will help you learn, change your mindset, and understand where perhaps you can adjust or change or even improve. All right, the next thing is learning to prioritize myself. And I will definitely recommend to you to also do that, because sometimes we tend to be on the go so much that we don't even realize when we're just doing too much. And as you probably already know, this is my side project. I do have a job. I do have, my daughter that I take care of. There are so many things. I have a cat, which he's also extremely needy, by the way. And he requires a lot of attention. He refuses to leave my side. But besides that, I have to also take time to prioritize my own needs, my own wants. And that's something that I've been learning throughout the year, to know when enough is enough. So I've learned also, because I've been creating these seasons, to take a break when I need it. Sometimes, as you notice, I've been wanting to create episodes every week, but there are weeks where my schedule is crazy. There are weeks where maybe I'm sick, whatever the case may be. So I try to stay consistent, and I think I've done the best that I can to do that. But at the same time, there are things that I'm already thinking about for season 3 that I could do better. So the idea is to always learn and grow and figure out ways in which you can get better each and every time. Of course, I don't want to start creating episodes and I'm like, I'm not feeling well. And then I start to sound grumpy and insufferable. So you probably are okay with me not creating an episode that week. If it means you're not dealing with grumpy Laura, I'm sure you would probably thank me later. And the most important thing that I've learned throughout this process is to have fun doing it. If at any moment I feel like I'm not having fun, like I'm not enjoying the process, it's going to become very daunting to do. So I've tried to make it as fun and exciting as I can make it with the topics that I've been covering, enjoying the ride and adding some fun moments, talking about my experiences in order to lighten the mood. Hey, I'm going to tell you this. I hope you like my little jokes. I know that, I could be a little corny sometimes. If I'm not funny to you, if you feel like, I need a little work, I need to work on my delivery, well, guess what? Too bad. You're going to have to deal with my corny jokes anyway. So, yes, the point is to, no matter what you're doing, have fun, make time to enjoy what you're doing, find something fun about it, whether it's you finished a page on a book, if you finish a chapter on your book, go and put your favorite song and dance to it. You know what I mean? So find something that makes you want to keep going because you know that the reward is always coming around the corner. So these are the things that I wanted to share with you. And yes, at the same time, express all the gratitude in the world, tell you how much I appreciate you, and understand that you listening to me means so much. I could not even begin to imagine how the podcast has grown into what it is today because of all of your effort and all the messages. You can't believe how many messages I receive of friends or even strangers who tell me, you know what, I listened to this episode and it really helped me understand this. And I learned something new because of something you said. You know what I mean? So as long as the contributions that I'm making with the Main Allure is positive, is motivating, is encouraging, I'm probably going to keep doing it because there's always someone out there who needs to hear those words. And like I mentioned in episode 1, or at least in my intro, I've always tried to make sure that there's always someone out there who knows that there is someone listening, that there's someone who understands you. Because there are times when, even when you're growing up, you don't really have that support system. You don't really have people around you to motivate you. And if you do, you're one of the lucky ones. Embrace it. Appreciate it. If there are people around you right now who are providing you with support and a listening ear and an understanding of who you are, of what you are able to do, who are encouraging you to follow your dreams, stick by those people because those are the people that are going to always support your crazy ideas, right? As long as you're not doing anything criminal, please don't. But at the same time, it's necessary, right? Having a community where you can say, no matter where I put my foot in, I know that I'm going to have a community or a village that's going to support me, that's going to be there to help me figure out my way. And the important thing about that is that we all need that, regardless of whether you think that you don't. We all need it. We all need someone to help us see that there's always better, that there's always something to look forward to. So thank you again for listening to the Main Allure podcast. And again, I appreciate you very much. May we continue to grow together because that's what life is about. So until next time, take care. And again, happy anniversary. You are also part of the celebration and may we continue to be in each other's lives. All right. Until next time, take care. Bye.